Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict show. What I want to talk to you today is about the decision by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, to launch an investigation into war crimes in Ukraine and what it all means within the big picture. So, before I launch into that, I want to just remind you of a few things. Tomorrow, we're going to be having our live stream. So, make sure you join us tomorrow. It's going to be on locals. So that's where we're going to be doing that one. And we're going to do another one for you guys on this platform down the road. So we didn't forget that. So, and also, what else I was going to say? Yeah, that is what's for tomorrow. We're going to be also recording some videos for you for next week. And for me personally, I will keep up with those updates just to provide you insight as to where things are moving, because we are entering a different phase right now. That is, since it has been a week since the Russia launched its military operation. This is the next phase of the, shall we use the term, the war on information. But in any event, this is what I'm going to be talking to you today, just to provide you a framework for all what it means, basically. Well, first of all, also, I want to highlight to you two main things that took place today. Russia and the U.S. agreement to avoid some sort of engagements and progress of negotiations between Kiev and Moscow. So basically, the U.S. and Russia discussed something that is, shall we say, vague, because it's vague. And because the question that comes with that is, do the parties trust each other? Because that trust is not there. And how can you be negotiating with someone if you don't trust them? That just common sense. Second thing, one of the things that is now analysts are thinking about is the idea of who's going to be impacted the most from those sanctions. As of just like an hour ago or so, the bipartisan legislation in Congress now is going to move forward with banning the import of Russia's oil into or not just oil, but petrol, in chemicals and LNG and so forth. All of that stuff will be banned from being imported from Russia. What does it mean for an American? Well, the price is going to be a little bit too high. I've already seen, I just was outside driving to one location, and I saw gas prices are already reaching about $3.52. I never thought I would ever see this, but Americans need to embrace themselves for the high energy prices coming down the pipe. Europe is already dealing with this, but especially those analysts are saying that Europe will be hurt the most from all this, given that Europe gets about 26% of its oil from Russia and about 40% of its gas from Russia. So you're looking at about 60% plus of the energy coming out of Europe. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk about that one. We're going to be talking about the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and all of a sudden launching this particular investigation, shall we say, into the war crimes in Ukraine. And the common question that I will ask personally, where were you a couple of years ago in other parts of the world? Why haven't we heard about the International Criminal Court investigating certain crimes? I'm going to want to say thank you to Lam. No, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it. So, and the reason you want to ask that question, because it's common sense. All of a sudden, Karim Khan, he's the prosecutor of the ICC. He's a British. It was just elected, I think, about a few months ago. All of a sudden, launching this particular investigation, and that makes me question. Once again, thank you so much for your 2 super stickers, which really appreciate it, and your support means a lot. And I want to say thank you to you. And here is the thing: is the idea of, as I said, why haven't we saw ICC conducting investigations in other conflict? Example, Iraq. Example, Afghanistan. Example, in some hot conflicts in Africa. Or just the recent one, or the ongoing one, rather, in Yemen. as one who spent time in Yemen, I can just tell you, once again, I appreciate you for the super sticker, Lam. Thank you so much. And the question is, why the double standards? Because the question that I will ask is this: how come you are applying the standards to only one set of countries but not others? And that's just common sense. Ali, thank you. Ali Hadidi, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it. And that's the common questions that I will ask personally, and especially if you are to take into consideration where things are in Yemen. And by the way, how this investigations was launched, you may wonder, or you may ask, it's because they are saying, British media saying that there were some court members, state, who asked for the ICC to take the investigation. And I even found out that the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, and I quote here, is saying that an investigation by the International Criminal Court into Russia's barbaric acts is urgently needed, and it is right that those responsible are held to account. End of quote. Really, Liz? Are you knowing, or do you know what you are talking about? What about the atrocities committed against Yemenis? Defenseless, at least in the case of Ukraine. And don't get me wrong, guys, I feel sad. I truly feel sad for what's going on in Ukraine. Nobody, no one in a right mind should even sort of cheer for something like that. No, a human life doesn't matter. Where you're from doesn't matter. What color skin doesn't matter. What your political orientation doesn't matter. What your religious faith should be respected. But to me personally, why the double standard? How come you are now saying, you, the ICC, the life of Ukrainians is so valuable and that of the defenseless Yemenis is worthless? Because that's what it is. The atrocities committed against Yemen, they are committed against defenseless. In Ukraine, they have $500 million worth of weapons. And I usually get emotional about this, and I try to calm myself. It's because the sadness that takes over me when it comes down to Yemen. I've been there. I saw wonderful people. They don't have much. Yemen is one of the poorest countries in the Arab world. And yet, because Saudi Arabia is our customer per se, because we sell so many weapons, this is exactly what I disclosed in this book. If you get a chance to read it, you will have a great understanding of what's going on in that conflict itself. So, but again, this is about fairness. This is about justice. My argument is, if you, an international entity that works on behalf of the world, then be fair, be just. Because what it means now is that with the ICC launching this investigation, you are cherry picking what works for you to justify your agenda. What happened to Australians who committed war crimes in Afghanistan? What happened to British who committed war crimes in Afghanistan? What happened to the US? Some military committed war crimes in Iraq. And this is not about just US or Western world. This will apply to China, will apply to Russia, will apply to whomever. And I am not differentiating between this or that, or favoring this or that, or supporting this or that. If China committed war crimes, it should be brought into justice. To be fair. Because to me, that's what the idea of the international system. You want to be fair to all. But you can't be cherry picking here, knowing that there are about 12 million kids in Yemen are dying of starvation. Why? Because the blockade by Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, with the support of United States, of UK and Germany and France, they've been selling weapons too. So my argument is, let's be fair. This is what the international system ought to be about. HVA, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it. And to me, this is what the whole idea of why Because I saw this morning. As a matter of fact, the decision was made last night. All of a sudden, we're going to launch, ICC is going to launch an investigation. Okay? Then what happened, if you are to say this, then what happened to, for example, as a matter of fact, the recent stats, by the way, and I am going to provide you all the links to the information so you can see this for yourself, because as we speak, as of today, as of 2022, Yemen remains one of the largest humanitarian crises in the world, with around 21 million people in need of humanitarian assistance, including more than 11 million children. So how come, when I'm reading about this, how come ICC is not investigating these atrocities? You know, where's the double standard here? And if we are to say about even, let's not go to Yemen, for example, and how about the investigation of the atrocities that were committed against the minority in Donbass? And this was disclosed by the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. It's called OSCE, which documented this. And I will provide you the link for it. It documented the dangerous increase in ceasefire violation in eastern Ukraine committed by the Ukrainian government, with about 5,667 violations and 4,093 explosions over a period of time. This didn't happen last night. We're talking about since 2014. Well, how come all of a sudden ICC is only willing to investigate the Ukraine human rights war crimes, but excluding certain aspects? And where were they 2, 3, 4, or 5 years ago? Why didn't they launch the investigation? And once again, guys, I am being pragmatic here. I am being neutral. And my argument is, if you are to do this, you, the international organization, you, the ICC, whatever, be fair. Don't cherry pick whomever. And you wonder why there is no trust into the system? Panda, thank you so much, Panda. I appreciate your super sticker. Thank you so much. You become asking yourself, those are legitimate questions. Those are logical questions that we have to ask as citizens. And I am not talking here as an American. I am talking here as a human being. Because that could be you in Yemen. That could be your children in Yemen. So how come all of a sudden we are moving into the direction? And this is where you need to understand how to read information. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth is going to be providing you, not on this platform here, somewhere else, and I'll communicate that with you about how to start to understand how this kind of information you need to decipher it. So this is the argument that I am seeing that doesn't justify the credibility of an institution. Why will I ever trust the report coming out of the ICC? Why haven't we seen the Australian who committed crimes in Afghanistan? And I was in Afghanistan. How come we don't hear anything about it? How come we don't hear about the Brits? How come we don't hear about the US? Excluding one case in the US, which the individual from the SEAL Team 6 was pardoned by the former president. Now, I am not in position here to judge, and I am not judging anybody. If the president of the United States or former president, whatever, or whomever wants to pardon him, more power. All I am talking about is the individuals who are voiceless, who have no way for them to express their pain, because that is exactly what's taking place in Yemen. Why? Because the Saudis buys weapons from us and we're going to turn a blind eye? Which is exactly what we did. So where is the ICC and its credibility of being fair and just? And once again, this is not about just one particular country. And I will say the same about China. I will say the same about Russia. I will say the same about whomever, Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, Nigeria, Sudan, you name it. Because I can see sometimes there are those who post in some comments, well, David's not being fair to, I don't criticize that. I criticize the way, for example, foreign policy of the United States, my country, is being applied in the wrong direction. Because I'll take a step back and watching now what's going on and wonder, where are we going with this? Because here is the thing that you need to understand. This is about much bigger than just Ukraine. Keep that in mind and read between the lines. It's much bigger. And this is where that issue is. So when the ICC says that as a court of the last resort, it seeks to complement, not to replace national courts. Wait a minute. Because if you are to consider yourself that way, how about being fair and address all the atrocities? You don't cherry pick. And to me, because I call this double standard, because for an international system to operate properly, accordingly, efficiently, it has to establish credibility. Your credibility comes from how you conduct your business. And this is why last time, and I read some of your comments, guys, and they were spot on. Some of you mentioned that the West doesn't understand the Asian cultures when it comes down to trust. Iron Horse, thank you so much for your super sticker. It means a lot, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of your support, guys. Because this is what we're hoping, and I'm hoping, and I speak on behalf of the entire team. We're hoping to grow this into a much larger platform where we can talk. And I get frustrated. It's because I can't talk openly here. And you all know why. And makes me just wonder. It's as frustrating as it can be. So your assistance and your help means a lot to us to help us grow, because we want to move this to a different direction while providing you the information you need. You need to know. We have no agenda to push for. We don't support anyone. We are neutral, provide objective analysis, and let you reach your own conclusions. That is our objective. And I speak from my heart. I am not after status. I am not after anything. I don't want anything. But I get frustrated when I see an international system like this saying, we stand for justice. We stand for fairness. What is your fairness in the face of starving children in Yemen? Because that could be my child there. And I've been there and I saw. It pained me till today. I still remember it. I was eating in a restaurant there with some of colleagues, and I'm seeing a younger kid, about 7 or 8 years old, going through the trash to find something to eat. I just couldn't finish my dinner. And it will be no way I could finish my dinner while I'm looking at that picture. So I had to call the owner of the restaurant and say, please do me a favor, get that kid, get him a plate and I'll pay for it. And that image still haunts me till today. And I say it straightforward. Kang Day, thank you so much. Appreciate your super sticker. By the way, guys, I found out that some countries do not allow super stickers. I think Indonesia, one of them. So please correct me if I'm wrong. So that is the whole idea why I got fired up on this one here, because as soon as I came across that info, I said, there is no way our viewers needs to understand and put this within a context of fairness, of justice. I mean, who wants to see what's going on in Ukraine? Nobody wants that. You get to be a madman to be supporting something like this. And yet, there are those behind the scenes for the agenda towards something like this. What for? Greed. It's because some of us, I shall not generalize, have never developed a sense of being contained. Being content, being happy with what you have. If you have $1 million, you want 2. If you have 2, you want 10. If you have 10, you want 100. Till when? Human desires never ends. But if you never discipline your soul to be content with what you have, you will be happy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. I understand how things are. I've been on the ground. But still, that image of that kid in Yemen still haunts me till today. My other concern now, it has to do with something else that is also brewing. You guys remember when I talked to you about the visit of the delegation that was on an unofficial trip to Taiwan, because they were asked by the president to send, and by the way, they went on a private jet, not US government jet. Because there are now some experts that are saying a war over Taiwan is desirable because Asia's growth to become world economic heartland has become unstoppable. Something to ponder, something to think about. And this is why I always say, guys, when you look at the geopolitical landscape, always see the big picture. Never zoom in only on one aspect. Sophia, thank you so much, Sophia. Yes, you're absolutely correct about your comment regarding the Serbians. Yeah, what happened in Kosovo. You're absolutely correct. And it was NATO that bombed Kosovo. At the time, it was General Wesley Clark in charge. The same guy that is now calling for no-fly zone. I am sure he has an idea what it means. Because Russia is not Iraq. Russia has the capability of shooting down whatever flies around the air. You know. Barry, thank you so much, Barry. We truly appreciate it. It's people like you guys, all of you. It's the way what keeps me sitting here and talk to you, because I talk from my heart. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't need to sound intelligent. I gotta talk the way you and I can understand the issues. I gotta break them down in a way you and I can understand what it means for us. And because this is where the concern that I have. And remember, just to go back to my last point about the US experts saying this, always remember, it's not about winning. It's about dragging the conflict. And that is why I decided last time to talk to you about, when I put that title, Taiwan, are you watching? Because that is exactly where things are. So, just to wrap this up, and usually when I say what I need to say, I get off the air. I'm not here to waste your time. Just for you always to keep in mind, with an international institution, establishment, whatever you want to call it, ICC in this case, start to, what's the word I'm looking for? Pumped its fist about, we're going to conduct an investigation into war crimes, and you hear all this bravado and all that. And behind it, it's a hypocrisy. It would have made perfect sense for them had they conducted an investigation into war crimes committed in Yemen 3, 4, 5 years ago, because the conflict is already 5 years ago. Have we ever heard about the suffering of the children in Yemen? And once again, I am speaking from experience. I was on the ground. I spent quite a time there. I understand the culture. I'm very familiar with the language. And it's almost like right now, and this is just to not to go far away from it, but just the idea, for example, I'm looking at 2 countries now, or 3. Japan, Australia, and Singapore. They are sanctioning Russia. Why on earth? Why on earth would you go sanctioning Russia? For what? What Russia has to do with you? Well, interesting enough that each one of them has an agenda, has a purpose. And this is where this argument now that is coming into the idea of the economic growth of Asia becomes unstoppable. So basically what it is just the desire for a war, except that it will be a small one that will be followed by quick surrender. And this is where my country is diligently now working with the likes of Australia, UK, Japan, into provoking China into what they hope will be a limited war. It won't be. That war will go outside the borders of Asia. Those who are advocating for something like this, they are delusional. Time has changed. The geopolitical landscape has changed. It's because they will justify if China fired the first shot. So, to prepare for all this, the partners per se are teaming up, like Australia, Japan, South Korea. You guys remember? We used to have back during Iraq, not Iraq 1, Iraq 2. It was called the coalition of the willing. I don't know if you remember this or not. Now, what do we call this one here? Now we'll use the term coalition of the coerced, because that's what it is. And once again, my objective is just to open your mind, open your eyes into seeing. If you happen to be an American watching this, start to think. This morning, Congress has debated also the approval of $10 billion in aid to Ukraine. What about American families that are struggling right here? What about the crime rate that is going up? What about the poverty that is going up? What about the energy prices that's going up? What about the inflation? What are we sending $10 billion tax money, our tax money, to Ukraine? I'm saddened by what's happening in Ukraine, but this whole fiasco could have been avoided, but the West didn't want to. And now, if you speak the truth, you are the enemy. If you speak the truth, you are an American. Since when have we become like this? And isn't this what democracy is all about? In London, in Frankfurt, in Paris, you name it, in the US, censorship, limiting the conversation. Why? It is in different opinions that creativity comes in. And sadly for us, our foreign policy hawks or officials, whatever you want to call them, they have no clue. They are amateurs. That is what's said. So that is what I want you to be aware of. Don't forget the atrocities committed in Yemen as we speak, because we decided to turn a blind eye, because ICC decided to turn a blind eye. Will I trust Karim Khan, the prosecutor? No, I won't. And I'll say it straightforward, and I'll say it to his face if I had a chance to meet him. Because leadership and credibility matters when the issues are addressed head on. If you are to say, I am fair, then you have to show that fairness when it matters. And it matters now to speak for those who have no voice in Yemen. Just because the Saudis give us a write a check for a few billions of dollars, we turn our eyes on the truth. I always wondered what Aristotle said way back. Democracy can be messy, indeed. I want to leave you with two questions as I start to call them question of the day. Okay, are you ready? Question one: is the Cold War turning into a hot war, given the developments and so forth? And second thing, is the US working with Australia, UK, and even Japan and South Korea behind the scenes to provoke China into what it may be, or what they may hope for as a limit to the war over Taiwan? Once again, is the Cold War turning into a hot war? And is the US working with Australia, UK, and behind the scenes Japan and South Korea into provoking China over Taiwan? I look forward to read your comments on it, guys. So, as always, I truly appreciate you. I appreciate all of you super stickers, guys. It means a lot to us because we want to grow this to a much bigger. And for, hey, let me read this. Angelia, thank you so much, Angelia. I appreciate it. It means a lot, guys. It truly means a lot because we want to grow this to a much bigger setting where we have enough resources. As you know, all this takes, we're doing it now on our own because we don't want anybody to be dictating to us the term or what to say. I will not. If that ever happens, you will never see me again. But you know where we stand for. So your support means a lot to us because we want to bring you accurate, objective information and let you reach your own conclusion. Hope you can join me and Ross and Elizabeth tomorrow on a live stream if you can. And as always, guys, stay informed. Till next time. See you guys. Bye-bye.